Hi, welcome to Exploring the Illusion of Free Will. My name is George Ortega, and I'm here with our very special guest, Nick Vale. Nick Vale, great to see you again. Okay, the Nick Vale, the producer of our Manhattan cable access TV show, Free Will Live. It's a live show. We're actually going to Manhattan later tonight to do another episode. So, but this is the episode of this show 210. We've got like, 200, over 200 episodes. We started this in September or November 2010, going, our 6th year of explaining why free will is impossible and why, it's important to get this. So like the title of this episode is called Free Will and Donald Trump's Self-Destruction. Okay. I'm going to forego
really? I had a surprise for you.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
I'm going to show you tangible evidence why free will is an illusion. George, you have to write an important letter. Do you want the pen or the pencil?
Oh, the pen.
The pen. Now, say you wrote that letter, and later on I said to you, why didn't you choose the pencil? Why didn't you choose the pencil?
Well, because pens seem, if it's an important letter, pens, a pen-written letter seems more professional.
So you couldn't have chose the pencil because you didn't want to choose the pencil. You wanted to choose the pen.
Based on my prediction that the pen, looks more authoritative.
So that's just like everything in life. You can't go back in time and change what you wanted at that moment.
Exactly.
So if it turned out that pen was a mistake, and I said to you, like, later on, you should have chose the pencil, you would say I couldn't have chose the pencil because I didn't want to choose the pencil. But then I could say, well, you should have wanted to choose the pencil. But you can't go back in time and change what your wants were at that time.
Exactly. If I wanted to choose the pen when I chose the pen, I
did choose the pen.
I had to, want to choose the pen.
Could you have chosen the pencil?
Theoretically, but actually...
No, because you didn't want to.
Exactly. And technically, the universe made me because the laws of nature, how we just described it in our previous show. But all right, so I want to get right into this. Because like as we're talking about this, we're going to like be describing what people mean by free will.
Okay.
And this is why this is important. Okay. Donald Trump.
You don't want to define it first?
No, we'll define it within the context. Okay, Donald Trump is running for president, and a lot of people are very justifiably terrified that he'll win because the guy is, as Mark Cuban recently said, he's bat-dash crazy. The guy is like out of his freaking mind, and he can't stop saying things that are injurious to his campaign. For example, like there was like... at the Democratic Convention, there was a Muslim father and mother who gave a speech, about the death of their soldier son in Iraq, and Donald Trump was attacking them, and like, you just don't do that in politics. You don't attack, the parents of a fallen soldier. Donald at a campaign rally a couple of days ago, a baby started crying, and he goes, "Get that baby out of here!" And like he was mocking the mother, saying like, she thought I was kidding before when I said that. No, I wasn't kidding and stuff. The guy was, he's like, he's got stuff going on. He really he needs. So like, all right. So explain how this isn't up to him. That's the way he is. And all this. If he had a free will,
but he believes he's helping himself, not hurting himself. So
that's true. But so in other words, believing he's helping himself is part of it, right?
It's the pleasure principle. You have no choice but to go towards pleasure and away from pain. He's not going to purposely try to hurt himself. Nobody would.
Right. But the other part of this is that he doesn't understand what you and I and the vast majority of people understand, that like each time almost that he opens his mouth, he's hurting his campaign. So it's not...
That's just an opinion. Nobody knows.
No, I know. Well, actually, no. It's, I mean, like, no.
Let's discuss no free will. I mean, you're saying he's an addict. He's addicted to ruining himself.
Well,
self-sabotage.
no, I wouldn't go that far, but like, in other words, he doesn't get it. And in politics, you have to be politically correct in some ways, to get elected.
His whole shtick is that he's not politically correct.
I know. So what are some of the other things he said that just like, he was being interviewed by some national security people, experts, and 3 times during this interview, he was asking them, well, I don't understand it. We have all these nuclear weapons. Why can't we use them? I mean, the guy is scary dangerous. I mean, people understand why we shouldn't use them, why we can't use them. He doesn't get it. So I'm saying, like, he doesn't have the free will, so we're not going to blame him. But if he had the free will, not only would he think that what he's saying, makes sense and is helpful to his campaign, but he would be saying different things that actually would be helpful. Because I mean, that scares people. I mean, you have Republicans, a lot of Republican donors, the Koch brothers, Meg Whitman, these rich donors. They're running away from him. They're.
But a couple of weeks ago, the poll showed him ahead, so...
Yes.
Anyway, the point of the show is to refute free will. I mean, you could say what you want about Donald Trump, but a lot of people like him, so they don't have a free will either. It's their pleasure principle that nobody has any control over.
And let's address that also, because you're right. It's not just...
It's an emotional thing.
It's not about just Donald Trump. It's about, first, his supporters, and then it's about the Republican Party, because, like... for the Republicans to be comfortable with, to not denounce, not repudiate somebody who's so, he was called by Meg Whitman, the Republican donor, he was called a Democrat. Jeb Bush saying that he should definitely be in therapy. I mean, the guy has incurred so much rancor from Republicans, yet most Republicans, as your voters, are on his side, and the Republican establishment is refusing to repudiate him. They're still endorsing them. So, like, the thing is, like, fine, we can't blame them because, like, again, this whole show is about, like, nothing is up to us. It's not up to them that they're doing that. It's not up to Trump that he's doing that. But, naturally, we have to kind of, like, try to, like, resist that. We had, just like we resisted Hitler and, and terrorists and all. But, like in politics especially, we do it with compassion, like, because if we're, we say, fine, they're wrong, but don't blame them. It just, like, preserves the harmony.
So if someone's doing something wrong in this world and you don't believe in free will and according to you can't blame them, how do you alter their future behavior?
Excellent question. Okay, so... in other words, like an example of blame is like if we Democrats, progressives would say, like, all right, you Republican people that are supporting Trump, Donald Trump, you're just pure evil, you're satanic, you're miserable, you deserve to suffer, you should all be in prison. That's one approach. That's the free will based approach, right? The unfree will based approach is like, all right, listen, we get it. We get that that's how you feel, but presumably you'll pay a price in November's elections and all, and like we're not going to blame you, but just as like we had to stop Hitler and we stopped terrorists, we have to stop you not because like things are up to you, but because what you're suggesting and promoting is so harmful to the country and to the world. So again, it's like we move from demonizing people, and then when you demonize people, they get defensive. They kind of like double down and just like we move from that adversarial kind of like conflict to like, it's not your fault. We're not going to blame you. You're innocent. You're just as innocent. We're not any better fundamentally than you are, because it's not up to any of us, right? But, there's consequences to what we do. So that's so much more of a compassionate, intelligent response.
So with or without free will, actions have consequences.
Exactly. All right, so...
So we want to tell everybody there's no free will. It's an illusion. We can go on and on for hours about why there isn't. You want to do some refutations, or what do you want to do?
We can do some refutations. All right, so like, why doesn't... let's relate this to Trump. Why doesn't Trump get what he's
well, he doesn't get that there's no free will because he has a huge ego and he doesn't want to rob himself of his personal accomplishments. So people who believe in free will can't stand the idea that there's no them, that, especially Trump, who puts his name on everything, that, if you say there's no free will, what you're really saying is you didn't do anything. And they, of course he's never going to agree to that. He's going to say he's lucky, but also I did this, I did that.
And I think he has
very few people are strong enough, like you and I, to admit that we're not doing anything. It's just luck or unluck.
Trump apparently has the need to win, and that may relate to he had an older brother who I think committed suicide. That
I think he was just an alcoholic and drank himself to death.
Oh, okay, thank you. But he was viewed by the family as somebody who wasn't concerned with winning, who just didn't have that temperament, that idea, I need to win, I need to compete. And so Trump is convinced that if he were to lose that he would start drinking and just be vulnerable like his brother. So that may explain part of it. Another thing is
but we're not here to psychoanalyze Trump. We're here to discuss the illusion.
But that's what I'm saying. In other words, for example,
first of all, for those who don't know, my voice is hoarse. If I had a free will, I clearly would have a perfect voice. That's another example of no free will.
All right.
It's a new show, so I have to.
Empathy.
So are you empathetic towards Trump?
No.
But it's his nature and nurture causing him to be that way. There is no Trump.
I know, but I want to talk about Trump. All right. Empathy.
Right.
He wants to deport, 11 million immigrants. That means he wants to take adults who are living in the United States, immigrants, Hispanic mainly, and deport them and leave their kids here who were born here, parentless. I mean, the guy obviously lacks empathy, and this is in other words, in terms, what prevents free will? What also prevents free will? Mental illness. The guy is a sociopath. He lacks this kind of standard empathy. And you don't blame a sociopath for being a sociopath. It's not their fault. People don't decide to have that empathy part of their brain work or not. So, and we actually have compassion for people that, right?
So, I mean, the show is about the illusion of free will. So you're saying, all this Trump bashing, Trump doesn't have a free will. There are causes to the way he acts. There are causes to the way Hillary Clinton acts. Neither of them are evil. Everything they're doing is fated. That's what you're saying.
Excellent. And can you guys see how, that perspective...
It's predetermined. But neither of them are discussing whether or not human beings have a free will, which is what we desperately need discussed.
Yeah, but can you see how the perspective that Nick just described would create so much more of a civil politics, without demonizing people? I mean, still, you got to call out, if a person's being a sociopath or just saying dangerous things, you got to call that out. You got to address it. But if you address it love conquers hate,
You sound like Hillary.
Yeah, or Jesus, right? Love your enemies, right? I mean, absolutely. Our enemies are our enemies because God makes them be our enemies, and we're their enemies for the same reason. So fine, there's conflict.
The problem with the illusion of free will, I used to say to you, the illusion of free will is the biggest elephant in the room. That assumes that everybody knows there's no free will and nobody wants to talk about it. I'm beginning to think it's just a blind spot, that nobody really knows this issue exists. And we're here to empower you and everybody watching that, it's an unanswerable question. If I said to George, what's your blind spot? You can't answer it because you don't know your blind spot. So Trump, Hillary, and everybody else on earth apparently have a blind spot that they don't know that there's no such thing as free will. What do we have to do to get this topic to come out of the blind spot and come into, the forefront, the mainstream?
Well, one thing we can do is reiterate what we know and most people don't know. Most people tend to respect authority. In other words, if a medical expert says something, they're likely to say, oh, this medical expert is, likely correct.
Right.
So, all right. Most people don't realize that Charles Darwin, Sigmund Freud, Albert Einstein probably are three greatest minds. We could probably include Newton in there, but, we don't have a definitive statement on this from him. But these three giants in science, again, probably our top three scientific minds, all rejected this notion of free will. They all understood that free will is an illusion, it's a myth, it doesn't exist. So that's now some philosophers.
Yeah, but then people say, what about quantum physics, quantum mechanics, you know?
No, but you know, Einstein was aware of quantum mechanics.
Yeah, but Newton wasn't. So let's leave Newton out of it.
No,
He's classical mechanics.
But again, like the other thing with Freud understood that free will is an illusion, not from the physics perspective, because he was like a neurologist.
I don't even understand the quantum mechanics. I mean. Are you telling me?
Wait a minute. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Are you
Freud? No, hold on.
Right.
But the Freud understood that free will is an illusion from the perspective
Hawking,
that it's our unconscious. It's from psychology.
Right.
It's not just physics that refutes free will. Psychology refutes it also, and Darwin understood it because biology refutes it. So yeah. Now some philosophers will claim, all right, well, wait a minute, that's an argument from authority. That means, like, you can't say that the positions are right just because, like, a certain person or these great scientists.
Well, they'll cite a bunch of people who believe in free will, who are scientists.
But they're not nearly as great as these.
True.
But the other part of this is, like, it is an argument from authority, but it's also an argument from probability. In other words, like, if you have some kind of condition and you go to a world-famous doctor, you know, he tells you, do this, do that, do whatever, who are you going to believe, that doctor or your mailman who's got like some kind of like alternative whatever? You know,
Yeah, right.
It's much more probable that our three greatest scientific minds are right about this, and if you're an average person, you're not right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so where are we?
What about there's no free will because you and I say so?
Yeah, and
we're the authority.
Absolutely.
We're regular people who see the obvious truth and want to see everybody else has an agenda. Politicians don't want to say there's no free will because it's like political suicide. We need the regular people. Maybe someone like Bernie Sanders could say, because he justifies why income inequality is so immoral. But, you know, we have nothing to gain or lose. We're just people who believe honesty is the best policy, and we want the truth said because we're not going to lose our jobs or lose votes. We're just regular people. So in a way, we're more of an authority.
Not that Einstein.
Because our salaries don't depend on not getting it, like everybody else, or getting it.
But the other thing, like, all right, no, people.
We just want to empower the truth.
But you know, it's not. People shouldn't believe us just because we're telling, right? People should believe us because what we're saying.
Yeah, but we don't have a horse in this race. We don't have anything at stake.
I know. That's all right, but actually, we do.
Think about a philosophy professor in college who might teach philosophy, might refute free will. Then you got kids going home to tell their parents at Yale, whatever, my professor, and they're doing whatever they want. Now the parents are upset. Call the board. Call the teachers and want that guy fired. So is that guy going to keep teaching that? There's too much backlash. He's in trouble.
All right, but Nick, you know,
what?
Right, we on my website.
But you see what I'm saying?
On my website, causalconsciousness.com, Exploring Free Will. In your books, in my books, basically we promote the idea that you and I and a few of our friends and stuff now are leading the world to a new consciousness, because we are.
But I'm saying if a philosophy professor wanted to refute free will, he could, in theory, get in trouble for teaching that.
What I'm saying is, like you're saying, we don't have any dogs in this race. We do, you know?
Well, I don't really promote my book. I didn't even use my real name until a few months ago. So.
But still, no, come on. Let's admit it. Like, you and I want credit for this, even though we know we don't have a free will.
Yes, but if I made a lot of money doing this, I would give most of it back.
Fine.
I only need a certain amount. I have a whole different economic platform, like Bernie Sanders.
But still, like, you know, if it was up to you, you know, like, we deserve, actually, you know, in fairness, Nick and I.
To run an efficient society, you need the rewards and punishments. Yes, we should be rewarded.
Yes.
But you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars. You might need a few $100,000. I mean, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Yes, so all right. But anyway, don't believe us simply because we're saying there's no free will. Believe us because we just explained in the last show how the laws of nature make free will impossible. Because
well, they may not have watched the last show.
And again, this is like episode 210, is it? 210. So like, yeah, there's 209 previous episodes where we explained it in so many ways. So like, listen to them, and it's, you know, it really is a brand new. I'm getting tired.
Yeah. Well, if you had a free will, you wouldn't be getting tired.
I guess. I don't know. That's true. All right, what else? Like, we got about 7.5 minutes left.
So you want to do the quantum? So are you telling me in quantum physics that subatomic particles have free will? I mean, where does the free will come?
Let's address this. Some people say that, like, well, determinism would say that we don't have a free will, but some things in quantum mechanics are indeterministic.
Right.
And I'm not going to go through, like, how that's nonsense. In other words, like, prediction is inconsequential to this. But what I'm going to say about quantum mechanics is that you want to know something, the laws of nature that govern quantum mechanics are part of those same laws of nature that govern everything. So in other words, like, if some of the laws of nature in quantum phenomenon were indeterministic, and they're really not, Einstein understood this, but but even if they were, it's still these laws of nature that are controlling anything. So the quantum mechanical defense of free will is nonsensical in more than one way, because the laws of nature are also controlling quantum phenomena.
So you're saying quantum mechanics is deterministic?
No, and what I'm saying more strongly, yes, I am saying that, but more strongly I'm saying that, like, a lot of times the debate has been like, well, if quantum mechanics is deterministic, there's no free will, but if it isn't, then there is free will, which is nonsense. But I'm saying either way, the laws of nature are controlling quantum behavior as well as macro behavior. So because the laws of nature govern, control everything.
Anyway, quantum mechanics just gives you probabilities and how the photon ends up here, right? They don't know where it's going to end up. It's probabilities.
Well, here's the thing.
Probabilities are completely determined by causality, which is deterministic. It's not that difficult.
What Nick is saying is
it's based on probabilities.
Yes, we human beings, with our technology, have to rely on probabilities to determine or predict the behavior of quantum particles.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the particles are behaving probabilistically. We are using probabilities to predict the behavior, the particles are behaving completely causally. Right. One particle is causing the second particle to do whatever.
And even if they didn't know how that's done, there's obviously hidden variables not yet discovered that cause those probabilities to be determined the way they are. And then people could say, well, there's no hidden variables. The actual two words I just put together, hidden variables, mean you don't know what they are because they're hidden. So of course nobody knows what they are. I mean, it's so obvious.
All right, now here's the thing. All right.
And you can't determine it because you don't know all the variables causing.
Getting back to the politics in this.
All right, I'm sorry. That was.
If the Democrats, progressives are smart, and they're not all that smart really. They're smarter, I think, than the Republicans. In other words, like, the Republican Party denies that climate change is happening. Mm-hmm. That's scary. But if the Democrats are smart, they will start chipping away at this free will belief, because it is one of the very strong foundations for conservative Republican ideology, which is going to be our next episode. We're not going to probably do it, because 2 is probably enough for today, right? So,
you're absolutely right. The Democrats, progressives, liberals should bring it up as a platform and a justification for a lot of their reason why income inequality is immoral.
Right. So, in other words,
they just say, income inequality has to go, but they don't say why. The reason why is because free will is an illusion.
Exactly.
That's why. And so, they never say it.
All right. Even though Darwin explained evolution over 150 years ago, here in the United States, there's still half of the population, bewilderingly, that believes that there was an Adam and Eve 6,000 years ago, and our whole world is only 6,000 years ago, that the dinosaurs existed with Adam and Eve. That's some crazy one. So this is 150 years later, or over that. So, it could be that it might take decades. I don't think it's going to take longer than 2 or 3 decades for the world to get this. But if the Democrats and progressives go with it as a way of undermining the Republican conservative ideology, I think it might happen within 5-10 years, at most.
So clearly, if we evolved from animals, and animals do not have free will, we couldn't have free will because we're just part of that causal chain of animal, getting more intelligent, correct?
Correct.
But if there was Adam and Eve, like the other people say, how does that give you free will? I don't see where Adam and Eve had free will in the Bible or anywhere.
I don't see that either.
It's all cause and effect. The snake tricked Eve. Eve told Adam. Adam ate the apple. God got upset. It's all cause and effect. There's no free will there.
Exactly. And
So why were they punished if there was no free will? I don't understand that whole story to begin with.
Well, Nick, I mean, actually, that's something we have to like concede that.
He said she caused me to
Listen
eat
to
the
me,
apple. I'm
listen to
saying
me.
the snake caused her to trick. Yeah.
The world is admittedly unfair because, like, in other words, like, for example, like the universe will cause me to like walk around in the dark and not watch what I'm going, being careless and stub my toe, right, and hurt me, right, and it's not up to me, and the universe is going to be punishing me for my carelessness, and that's not fair.
Right.
So, like, so in other words, like, yes, we have to admit that, like, whether the Garden of Eden, whatever.
But we're in a conditioning model. It's just conditioning you to turn on the damn light when you walk in the dark, so you don't stub your toe.
I know, but what I'm saying is,
it's all operant classical conditioning. That's all that's going on.
I know, but what I'm saying is that fundamentally the universe is not fair because like nothing is up to us, and we still get punished.
What I'm saying is, you used Adam and Eve as a scapegoat, as a way to prove free will. I don't see the free will on that side either.
I don't either.
It's not even in the Bible.
I know. That's the other point I was going to make.
Oh, okay.
That most people think it's in the Bible, and actually, the term free will was actually coined in 300 A.D. by St. Augustine of Hippo, who wrote a book, De Libero Arbitrio.
Is Hippo a town?
Yes, I think
okay.
so.
There's like
So yeah, and also, if you read your New Testament,
you should read the Newer Testament that I wrote.
He wrote that. The Paul in the New Testament, like in Romans, he basically says, I don't get it. You know, I want to do what's right, you know, but sometimes I find that I can't. What's going on? What is Paul
easy
doing?
answer, no free will.
He's challenging this question of free will. He's saying, wait a minute, if I had a free will, I'd be able to do good, the good
Excellent.
I want
That's
to.
a number one refutation
So
right
absolutely. So if
we always
anything,
forget that.
The Bible says that we don't have free will.
If there were free will, who amongst us would do anything wrong, not be blissed out? Who amongst us wouldn't be a perfect angel every second of every day? If you had free will, you would only choose freely positive, blissful thoughts.
All right, we're down to 14,
Excellent. That's our
13,
best
12
refutation.
seconds. Yes, so again, this is episode number 210. We will continue, God willing, fate willing, because it's not up to us, until you get it. Thanks for watching.